What if the numbness and burning in your feet has nothing to do with permanent nerve damage at all? And what if the advice you've been given, just rest, elevate your feet, wait it out, is actually the exact reason your feet and legs haven't gotten any better? Today I'm going to show you exactly why this happens, and the only 4 exercises you actually need to start relieving it. But stay with me until the very end, because I'm going to show you the one exercise almost nobody expects, the one that surprised even my own physical therapy team when we saw how well it worked for patients who had been struggling for years. I know exactly how you feel. You wake up and the first few steps out of bed feel like walking on pins, or on a floor that isn't quite solid beneath you. You've tried the special socks, you've tried the creams, you've tried simply resting more because that's what you were told to do, and yet the tingling, the burning, the numbness in your feet and legs hasn't improved. If anything, some days it feels worse. Maybe you've started avoiding stairs, or you hesitate before walking across a parking lot on uneven pavement, or you've quietly stopped joining family walks because you're worried about losing your balance in front of everyone. I want you to hear this clearly. This is not because your nerves are permanently broken, and it's not because you're too old for things to get better. The real enemy here is wrong information. The idea that rest alone will fix nerve pain, when in most cases, the opposite is true. My name is Dr. Harold Simmons, and for the past 22 years, I've worked with seniors dealing with peripheral neuropathy, balance problems, and nerve-related foot and leg pain. I've spent my career in outpatient clinics and rehabilitation settings, watching patients go from shuffling carefully with a cane to walking confidently again once they understood what their nerves actually needed. My mission has always been the same: give people real, evidence-based information, explained simply, so they can make smarter decisions about their own health instead of relying on guesswork or outdated advice. I'm not here to sell you a gadget or a miracle cream. I'm here to walk you through exactly what's happening in your nerves and exactly what actually helps. Before we go further, if this is useful to you, take 2 seconds to subscribe and tap that notification bell. It genuinely takes 2 seconds, and it means you won't miss the videos that could change how your feet feel tomorrow morning, how steady you feel on your legs, or how confidently you move through your day. So stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to show you could change how you think about your own recovery starting today. Let's talk about what's actually happening inside your feet and legs. I want you to picture an old, worn extension cord, the kind you might have in your garage. Over time, the outer coating on that cord can crack and wear thin in certain spots. When that happens, the electricity traveling through it doesn't flow smoothly anymore. It flickers, it short circuits. Sometimes it doesn't reach the far end at all. Your nerves work in a very similar way. Many of them are wrapped in a protective coating. And when that coating is damaged, often from years of high blood sugar, certain medications, or reduced blood flow, the electrical signals traveling from your feet up to your brain and back down again start to misfire. That's the burning. That's the numbness. That's the sense that your foot isn't quite where you think it is when you take a step. Here's the part most people are never told. Nerves, unlike a worn-out cord, have some ability to repair themselves, but only when they receive 2 things regularly, which are movement and blood flow. A study published in the journal Diabetes Care found that structured exercise programs measurably improved nerve function and reduced neuropathy symptoms in older adults, even in cases where the neuropathy had been present for years. And here is what no one has ever told you. Sitting still to protect painful feet is often the very thing that starves those nerves of the blood flow and stimulation they need to recover. I want to go a little deeper on why blood flow specifically matters so much, because this is the piece that changes how most people approach recovery. The nerves in your feet are the longest nerves in your entire body, which means they're also the ones most dependent on a steady supply of oxygen and nutrients traveling all the way down from your spine to your toes. When you sit still for long stretches, blood tends to pool in the larger muscles and doesn't circulate as efficiently into these smaller, farther-reaching nerve fibers. Over weeks and months of reduced movement, this creates exactly the kind of environment where nerve signals continue to degrade rather than improve. This is why the standard old advice to simply rest and elevate the feet, while well-intentioned, often works against you. The nerves aren't inflamed the way a sprained ankle is inflamed. They're starved for the very things that daily movement provides. This is also why symptoms often feel worse in the mornings after a full night lying still, and why many people notice a temporary improvement after walking around for a few minutes, even if that improvement doesn't last. The goal of the exercises I'm about to show you isn't to push through pain or force your feet to do more than they're ready for. It's to provide small, repeated, safe doses of exactly the stimulation your nerves have been missing. Let me tell you about a patient of mine named Dorothy, 66 years old. She was brought into my office by her daughter, who had made the appointment because Dorothy herself had nearly given up. Dorothy sat down, folded her hands in her lap, and said quietly, "Dr. Simmons, I haven't worn real shoes in over a year because I can't feel where my feet are anymore. I'm afraid I'm going to fall, and that will be the end of my independence." Her eyes filled with tears as she said it, and her daughter reached over and held her hand while she continued describing how she'd started avoiding the grocery store, skipping church because of the steps at the entrance, and asking her daughter to bring meals over rather than risk cooking on her feet for long periods. When we talked through her daily routine, I understood immediately what was working against her. Dorothy had been told years earlier to rest her feet, so she had gradually stopped almost all walking, spending most of her day in a recliner with her feet elevated. She wasn't doing any of the specific nerve-stimulating movements her feet actually needed, and her blood sugar, which was a contributing factor to her neuropathy, was running consistently high because inactivity was making it harder to control. Her baseline nerve conduction testing showed significantly reduced signal speed in both feet, and on a standard 10-point numbness scale, she rated her sensation loss at an 8. We didn't ask Dorothy to do anything dramatic. We started her on the 4 simple exercises I'm about to show you, done consistently, every single day. 10 weeks later, her numbness rating had dropped to a 4. Her balance testing had visibly improved, and for the first time in over a year, she walked into my office wearing real shoes instead of slippers. She looked at me and said, "Doctor Simmons, I forgot what it felt like to trust my own feet again." Now let me explain exactly how to do this correctly, because these 4 exercises are simple, but the details matter enormously. The first thing you need to do is toe and ankle pumps, done seated in a sturdy chair. Point your toes forward, then flex them back toward you for 10 to 15 repetitions per foot, 3 times a day. This movement acts like a pump for the blood vessels running through your lower leg, pushing blood down into the feet and back up again, which is exactly the circulation your nerves depend on to repair themselves. Do this first thing in the morning before you even stand up, again after lunch, and once more in the early evening. The second thing you need to do is marble or towel pickups. Place 10 small marbles, or a small towel scrunched on the floor, in front of your chair, and using only your toes, pick them up one at a time and place them in a small bowl. This forces the small intrinsic muscles and nerve pathways in your feet to fire in a coordinated way, which is a form of direct nerve stimulation you simply don't get from normal daily walking. Aim for 1 full round of 10 pickups, once a day, and if your balance is uncertain, always do this seated, never standing. The third exercise is heel-to-toe walking along a hallway wall, using the wall or a countertop for light support with one hand. Take slow, deliberate steps, placing the heel of one foot directly in front of the toes of the other, for a distance of about 10 to 12 feet, back and forth, twice a day. This challenges your balance system and your feet's remaining sensation together, which research from balance clinics affiliated with the American Physical Therapy Association has shown to meaningfully reduce fall risk in older adults with neuropathy, specifically because it retrains the brain to rely on multiple sources of feedback rather than foot sensation alone. And here is something very few people know. The fourth exercise, resistance band ankle rotations, is often the most overlooked, yet it may matter the most. Loop a light resistance band around the ball of your foot while seated, and slowly rotate your ankle in a full circle, 5 times clockwise and 5 times counterclockwise, per foot once daily. This isn't just about ankle flexibility. It activates a much larger network of nerves and muscles up through the calf than people expect. And for many of my patients, this is the exercise that produces the most noticeable improvement in the sense of knowing where my foot is without looking down at it. One more detail that matters more than most people realize is footwear and the surface you exercise on. Always do these exercises in bare feet or thin, non-slip socks so you can feel the texture of the floor beneath you, rather than thick, cushioned socks or slippers that dull whatever sensation you have left. If your home has thick carpet in certain rooms, consider doing your heel-to-toe walking on a hard floor instead, since carpet can make an already uncertain surface feel even less predictable under your feet. And if you notice any open sores, cuts, or areas of skin break down on your feet at any point, stop the exercises in that specific area and contact your doctor promptly, since neuropathy can sometimes mask injuries you might not otherwise feel. Now let's talk about the 3 mistakes I see constantly. The first mistake is resting completely and avoiding movement altogether out of fear of pain or falling. People do this because it feels like the safest choice, the same way you'd avoid using a sore shoulder. But inactivity reduces blood flow to the nerves precisely when they need it most, which can allow symptoms to slowly worsen rather than improve. The correction is gentle, seated, controlled movement like the exercises we just covered, never total rest. The second mistake is doing these exercises inconsistently, only on days when the feet feel especially bad. It feels reasonable, almost like taking a pain reliever only when you need it. But nerve repair depends on consistent, repeated stimulation over weeks, not occasional bursts of activity, so sporadic effort rarely produces meaningful change. The correction is a fixed daily schedule, ideally tied to something you already do, like right after breakfast and right before bed. The third mistake is doing these exercises while standing unsupported, especially the toe pickups or ankle rotations, because it feels more active. But if your foot sensation and balance are already reduced, standing exercises meaningfully increase fall risk. The correction is simple. Always begin these exercises seated in a stable chair, and only progress to standing versions once your doctor or physical therapist confirms your balance has improved enough to do so safely. I want to add one more layer to that second mistake, because it's the one that quietly derails more people than any other. Many of my patients start strong for the first week, feel a little discouraged when they don't notice dramatic change right away, and gradually let the routine slide. Nerve tissue simply doesn't respond as quickly as, say, a sore muscle does. Most people need 4 to 6 weeks of consistent daily practice before they notice a real shift in numbness or burning, and it can take 8 to 12 weeks for the improvement to feel significant. This is exactly why Dorothy's 10-week timeline and Frank's 8-week timeline weren't unusually fast cases. They were simply patients who stuck with the plan long enough for their nerves to actually respond. If you find yourself tempted to stop after 10 days because nothing seems different yet, that's precisely the moment to keep going rather than the moment to quit. Let me tell you about another patient, a man named Frank, 69 years old. Frank was very different from Dorothy. He wasn't emotional. He was frustrated and openly skeptical. He sat down, arms crossed, and said, "Doc, I've had this burning in my feet for 6 years. I don't see how a few chair exercises are going to undo 6 years of nerve damage." He'd already tried 2 different prescription creams and a pair of expensive compression socks a friend had recommended, none of which had made a noticeable difference, and by the time he came to see me, he was convinced that nothing short of a new medication was going to help. His nerve conduction results showed moderate slowing in both feet, and he rated his burning sensation as a 7 out of 10 on most days. He agreed to try the 4 exercises for 8 weeks, mostly, in his words, to prove they wouldn't do much. 8 weeks later, his burning sensation rating had dropped to a 3, and his balance testing showed measurable improvement as well. He looked at his chart for a long moment and said, "I'll admit it, Doc. 6 years of nothing working, and it was this simple the whole time." Frank didn't need reassurance or emotion to change his routine. He just needed to see the numbers move. Here's the concrete plan you can start tomorrow in 5 specific steps. Step 1. Do your toe and ankle pumps 3 times daily, 10 to 15 repetitions per foot, first thing in the morning, after lunch, and in the early evening. Step 2. Complete 1 round of 10 marble or towel pickups per foot, seated once a day, ideally at the same time each afternoon so it becomes a habit rather than an afterthought. Step 3. Practice heel-to-toe walking along a wall or countertop for 10 to 12 feet, back and forth, twice daily, always with one hand lightly supported. Step 4. Buy a light resistance band, the kind labeled light or extra light resistance, rather than medium or heavy, since too much resistance can strain rather than stimulate the nerves and small muscles you're targeting, and use it for your ankle rotations once a day. Step 5. Ask your doctor by name at your next visit. Can we check my nerve conduction and balance scores again in 8 to 10 weeks to track whether this routine is helping? And write that follow-up appointment down today before you leave this video. To make this easier to stick with, I recommend keeping a small basket near your favorite chair with everything you need already inside it: your resistance band, your marbles or a small towel, and a small bowl. When the equipment is right there in front of you, you're far more likely to actually do the exercises rather than putting them off until later, which for most people quietly turns into never. Some of my patients also find it helpful to do their exercises while watching a show they enjoy or listening to music, since 10 or 15 minutes spent this way rarely feels like a burden once it's paired with something you already look forward to. Now, an important note on medication. Many of you watching are on medications for diabetes, high blood pressure, or nerve pain itself, such as metformin, gabapentin, or pregabalin, all of which can interact with how your body manages blood sugar, circulation, and nerve sensitivity. Some blood pressure medications can also affect balance and dizziness, which is worth mentioning to your doctor if you notice any lightheadedness during the standing portions of this routine, like the heel-to-toe walking. I want to be completely clear. Never stop or change any medication based on a video you watch online, including this one. Always tell your doctor about any new exercise routine you're starting, especially if you have diabetes, poor circulation, or a history of falls, since your doctor may want to adjust monitoring or timing around these changes. These 4 exercises are designed to work alongside your current treatment plan, never to replace it, and your doctor remains the right person to confirm they're appropriate for your specific situation. Neuropathy is not your enemy. It never was. What was truly working against Dorothy, and against so many of you watching, wasn't your nerves failing beyond repair. It was the wrong advice to simply rest, the missing information about which specific movements actually help, and the fear that kept so many people sitting still when movement was exactly what their feet needed. Dorothy's words still stay with me. I forgot what it felt like to trust my own feet again. That is exactly what I want for you, that the right information gives you back control. As always, this video is for informational and educational purposes only, and it does not replace personal medical advice. Please consult your own doctor before starting any new exercise routine, especially if you have diabetes, neuropathy, or balance concerns. If this video gave you a clearer picture of what your feet actually need, please take a moment to like it. It helps this information reach more people who are quietly struggling with the same thing, often in silence, assuming nothing can be done. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, because I share content like this every week. Please share this video with someone specific, maybe your father who stopped walking as much as he used to, or a neighbor who's mentioned falling or nearly falling recently, or a friend from your walking group who quietly dropped out last year. In the comments below, tell me which of these 4 exercises feels hardest for you right now. I read every comment, and it helps me know what to cover in more depth in future videos. And if you want to know the one simple exercise every person over 70 should be doing daily to stop falls for good, that's exactly what my next video walks you through, step by step, the same way I've walked you through everything today. Turn on your notifications so you don't miss it. This is Dr. Harold Simmons, reminding you that your feet aren't done listening to you yet. They're simply waiting for the right signal. I'll see you in the next one.